Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. Today we've got some big time news. Knicks Fan TV put on his Twitter account that the Knicks are still interested in trading for Karl-Anthony Towns, and they reportedly are not done making moves. Knicks Fan TV, for those of you guys that don't know him, you probably do, but he's the biggest guy on this platform. He goes to a ton of games, very good content, go check him out. This is just absolutely wild to me because I'm one of the few Knicks fans that actually does want Cat. And the reason why I want Cat is because defensively, he does a great job against the league's top centers, but he also gives you 20 points a game. He's a guy that shoots 40% or more from three every single season. He's got good touch. There is question marks with Cat in the playoffs. There's question marks with Cat's toughness, at least in my opinion. But overall, I can't even fathom how electric a starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. At the 4 would be Josh Hart. Would he move into the starting lineup? And then at the 5 they would put Karl-Anthony Towns, because we'd have to trade Mitch and we'd have to trade Julius Randle. If you think about it, Randle is going to get a contract extension next season. Randle has proven basically nothing in the playoffs. Last season he missed a good amount of games and the Knicks still won 50 games for the second seed. I thought the Knicks honestly very often looked better without Randle. The ball moved. It's just unfortunate that other injuries kicked in. If OG Anunoby does not get injured in the playoffs, the Knicks probably sweep or beat the Pacers in 5, and then they end up making a serious run at Boston. We wouldn't even be talking about Julius Randle, but we are, because the Knicks lost in the second round in 7 games because they lost OG. They lost Boyan, right? They lost Mitchell Robinson. If those guys were playing, again, I don't even think we'd be talking about Randle because the Knicks were killing it. Now, yes, in January, that 14-2 start with Randle, Brunson, and OG was awesome. But at the same time, in order to beat Boston, you need to be able to move the ball. You need to be able to defend. And those are two things that Randle certainly is not his strengths, right? We could talk all day about the regular season, about how Randle's been dominant. He's made multiple All-NBA teams, multiple All-Star teams. But Karl-Anthony Towns is an amazing defender. Who was guarding Jokic in the playoffs? It was not Rudy Gobert. Who was guarding Kevin Durant? It was not Rudy Gobert. It was Cat, right? So Cat was going up against the best players on opposing teams, and then he was still giving you points. The issue for Cat was against Dallas. He was just horrific from the field. Defensively was almost non-existent. It was just a bad matchup for Cat. Before the Knicks, I feel like they could put him in a much better situation to thrive because they've got Brunson, they've got Devo, they've got Hart and OG and Mikal Bridges. There's just a lot of very unique players on this roster. Not to say Minnesota doesn't have that, but Coach Thibodeau, he was able to make Isaiah Hartenstein, a guy that got $29 million annually. I mean, what the hell is he going to do with Karl-Anthony Towns? A guy who's a star player at the bare minimum. I'm not going to say he's a superstar because I don't think Cat's a superstar, but I do think that he's got all the ability in the world, all the talent at the 5 position. Brunson and Cat would just be ridiculous alone, but then imagine Bridges and OG and Josh Hart in there and Miles McBride. To me, if we can get Cat for Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, I'm doing it, especially because Mitch also is going to need a contract extension next season. So I don't know how I feel about paying Randle for the future. I really don't. I don't know if I trust him. And even if he does start the season off like he was in the last 20 plus games of the season, where he's giving you 26, 9, and 5 on 50% from the field, even if we get that Randle, I'm always going to have doubts in the playoffs of, is his game going to work? The one thing I do like about Randle is that he plays bully ball, and when the Knicks need a bucket, if they're struggling, they can go down to Randle on the block, and basically if he's 1-on-1, it's going to be a bucket, or they can double team him. But I don't know, that's just where I'm at. I think Cat's defense and 3-point shooting would elevate the Knicks. I think if they got Cat, they'd immediately be the favorites to win the championship, right? Like if the Knicks move Randle and Mitchell Robinson for Cat, if that even were to go through, to me they'd be the #1 odds to win the championship. I think they would be over Boston at that point. I mean, right now the Knicks, as they are a team that Boston certainly does not want to see in the playoffs. But if they get Cat, it would just be ridiculous to me. So I ran a poll on my channel last night asking you guys, would you trade Randle for Cat? 82% of you said no, and I can understand why. Randle was playing his most efficient basketball as a Knick before the injury. Randle's an All-NBA player. He's an All-Star player. I mean, All-NBA is obviously better than All-Star, but he's a guy who legitimately is what the Knicks are looking for right now. The issue for me is just what I just said with the playoffs. He's getting a contract extension. He's not a good 3-point shooter. I mean, Randle was around 33%. Cat was around 42% last season. Defensively, I don't have the advanced analytics on Randle, but I don't think he's an amazing defender. I don't think he's like a terrible defender or anything, but I just can't even comprehend a starting lineup of Brunson, Bridges, OG, and Cat, right? And then they'd put probably Josh Hart in there. The thing about Josh Hart is that he was the Knicks' second best player in the playoffs last season. Take a look at his numbers. I wrote them down for you guys. I mean, this is just insane. I mean, Hart goes out there over the first 9 games of the playoffs. He averaged 17 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 threes. He shot above 45% from downtown. Hart is going to make $18 million this season for the Knicks. Randle is going to make 26, but Randle's number is going to go up, of course, when he gets extended. So am I willing to pay Julius Randle over $30 million annually? Not really. I'm just really not. And that's just where it's going to start. It could be even higher. I mean, if Randle has another really good season, then we could be seeing that in the $40 million. So if Hartenstein got $29 million, I mean, Randle's going to get more than that. So if you look at Josh Hart in the regular season, in the final 35 games of it, he averaged 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. So the question for Hart is going to be his 3-ball. Can he consistently knock it down? But in terms of his energy and his hustle and his defense, his ability to switch everything and pick and rolls, when we go up against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, which I'd imagine is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, hopefully, if we get there, you've got to be able to defend Tatum and Brown. You've got to deal with Derek White and Drew Holiday. A lot of bodies out there. The Celtics have a couple of guys off their bench that can score. You've got to be able to defend. And I'm not worried about scoring because the Knicks have plenty of scoring, plenty of shooters. But defensively, can they lock in for 7 games and beat the Celtics with their defense? And that's why I'm fine with Josh Hart starting. I would have no issue with him in the starting lineup at all. That way we would have we wouldn't have DiVincenzo in the starting lineup, so we wouldn't have the 4 Villanova guys, but we'd have 3 of them. We'd have Brunson, we'd have Hart, and we'd have Bridges. And the defense would be awesome. And then yeah, that's the biggest thing is OG's in there as well. So OG, Hart, and Bridges, these guys can defend, switch everything. It'd be awesome. And then you've got Brunson and Cat. I mean, Cat's already a good defender. Brunson's a pretty average defender, slightly above average defender. But Brunson would just be living the dream. He'd have guys around him that can defend, that can cut, that can shoot. And then he'd have the best shooting big probably in NBA history in Karl-Anthony Towns. So that's essentially where I'm at. Is a lot of this is about Cat and how much I like him as a player, but a lot of it's just how much I don't trust Julius Randle, right? I mean, I guess a lot of it is just what happened in the playoffs, not this past season, but the year before that, is Randle was just absolutely horrific against the Cleveland Cavaliers and against the Miami Heat. And I know he was injured, he wasn't healthy, but to me, if you're on the court, you're not doing the team any favor if you're not healthy. If you're playing bad, you're on the court, then you're just doing a team a disservice. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. Against Atlanta, obviously, was Randle's first playoff, so I'll let him off the hook on that. I mean, that doesn't define him. But moving forward, I'd rather take Cat, who was a part of the Timberwolves. They won 60 games. I mean, they had one of the best records in the league. They were the #1 ranked defense. So I would love for Cat to be a part of our defense and help us rank #1, because if we have the #1 ranked defense, that gives us the best chance to win a championship, right? Because I don't have any concerns about our offense. Bridges is going to score 18 to 20. Brunson's going to score probably 27 to 30 a game. Cat's going to give us 20. And then Josh Hart's probably going to give us about 10 points, which is fine. I mean, if he's our least scoring option on the team, and then OG is going to give us probably 15 to 18 tonight. So man, I love this. If the Knicks get Cat, I'd be so ecstatic, but I don't think we're going to get Cat, if I'm being honest with you guys. And if we were to trade Robinson, Randle, and Miles McBride, to me that's too much. So I said the same thing about Kevin Durant. I would not trade Miles McBride for Kevin Durant.
If we get Cat in the playoffs, we'll go to 2022 and 23. He scored 15 or fewer points in 4 of his 11 games, but 25 or more in 5 of the remaining 7. So there's definitely an example right there that Cat is capable of showing up big in the playoffs. And if you have the right team around him, the right talent, it's only going to elevate him.